something a little bit different in this video. I'm going to show you 4 images which I hope you will find inspirational, in the sense that they will inspire you to write a piece of music. What I'd like you to do, if you want to play along, is to look at these images and think, what sort of music would this inspire me to write? Does it suggest bells? Does it suggest brass? Does it suggest airy, floaty sounds? Does it say anything to you at all? Now, there's no right or wrong answer to this. If none of the images speak to you at all, that's your answer, and that is totally fine. But one of the things I find interesting about looking at pictures is, you've probably heard people talk about finding the story in a piece of music. Now, I think this can sometimes sound a little bit arty, pretentious, because how can you get a story out of a piece of music? Well, if you think of a movie tells a story, and then you have music accompanying the movie. So in that sense, the music is telling the story of the movie. So as you look at these images, ask yourself if any of them tell a story, if they suggest a story. And if they do, then you could look upon that as a little sort of movie and write a piece of music to accompany it. Now, I'm going to show you 4 images. If you would like to jot down your thoughts in the comments, that would be super duper. I'll show you the 4 images, then I'll go through them again, and I'll tell you what I see in them. So we can compare notes in that sense. There are no right or wrong answers here though, so just whatever comes to mind. And at the end of these 4, I'm going to ask you another question. If you've been following my channel for any length of time, you may know a little bit about me. So I'm just going to ask, can you tell which of these 4 images I am going to use to actually write a piece of music for? Now, I will admit straight away that this is going to be a bit of a dice throw, because I think all of these images are inspiring in some way. So anyway, that's a little game to play if you want to play it. Anyway, you've been looking at the first image for the last 30 seconds or whatever. Let's move on to the second one. You can press pause if you want any longer to look at it. And let's have a look at the third one. Again, you can press pause to look at it and examine it a little bit longer if you wish. And here is number 4. So do any of these inspire you in any way to write a piece of music? Do any of them suggest a story? Well, I'll go through them again and I'll let you know what they say to me. So here's the first one. It's a lighthouse looking over is it a sunset or a dawn? Not totally sure. It's very tranquil, very peaceful. What's the story behind this? Well, you probably know that lighthouses are no longer actively functional in any part of the world, at least as far as I know, due to the advances in ship's navigation. They aren't really needed anymore. So this is a bit of a throwback. It's also a bit romantic, I think. There's a lighthouse and the lighthouse keeper's cottage there looking over this serene scene. So what sort of story does it tell? Well, I think this is a very peaceful scene. It tells a story, perhaps with a little regret that this beautiful lighthouse is probably no longer operational, and somebody is still living there looking after it for posterity. So a piece of music, well, probably something serene, something slow, something ambient, of course. I think that would fit this image very well. So here's the next one, the monolith, I call it. I find this fascinating. The place is strewn about with kiddies' toys, and there's kiddies, and one of them seems to be either going into the monolith or out of it. So where is this? Is this on some alien planet? Do the children live there? Or they're the remnants of a future civilization, the future human civilization? It asks and raises more questions than it answers. So this would inspire something a little bit mysterious, maybe a little bit unsettling as well. So I think this could tell several different stories. I think they would all have an air of mystery about them. So that is certainly the vibe I would go for if I was scoring this one. So the next one, this is a moon, the spaceman standing on an alien planet looking at this gigantic moon. And if you look in the distance, you can see other space people doing whatever space people do in the distance. This again tells some sort of story. It could be a whole range of stories, exploration of an alien planet, of a foreign planet. Perhaps they have been stranded there and they are searching for ways to stay alive. So this could tell a number of stories. I think they, to me anyway, they all suggest something a little bit dark. So space music, however you define it, with spacey sounds and so on running around in the background. And number 4, this is another interesting and potentially desolate image. It's a rustic bridge with is this a gatekeeper's cottage on the top, spanning this ravine. So it has an air of fantasy about it, but also there are no people in the image. So I like to see people in images, but the lack of people, I think, gives it a little bit of a sense of desolation, even though it might be in a nice fantasy world. So this would suggest perhaps some sort of fantastical music, some possibly uplifting music, you know, the chords going from C major to A flat, this standard fantasy music trope. So something like that, but perhaps not as big and brash as some fantasy music might be, perhaps something a little bit more on the subdued side. So that's my take on these 4 images. Let me know what your take is so we can see how we compare and contrast. I think that's always interesting, see how other people interpret things like this. And I am going to write a piece of music for one of these images. As I said earlier, it is a bit of a dice throw. I'd be surprised if anybody said, yes, he's definitely going to write a piece of music about this. But who knows? So the image I have chosen is the moon picture, the one with the spaceman. I like spacey music, you may well have guessed that. I like all sorts of music, but I like writing music with a spacey and a cosmic background. So I'll run away and do that now, and I will be back with you in 3 shakes of a cat's whisker. So here I am again. Right, I'm going to play the piece. It's a couple of minutes long, that's all. You can let me know how well you think I have interpreted the image. So if you use any of these images to write a piece of music, then please do leave a link to it in the comments, because I, for one, would certainly love to hear how other people interpret these images. And I am sure other people would as well. So thank you for watching. We'll play out with my interpretation of the moon picture. See you again in the next video.